Have you ever found yourself wondering what's just around the corner? Of course you have. It's a deeply human thing to do, a question we've been asking ourselves for, well, thousands of years. From ancient oracles all the way to modern algorithms, our obsession with knowing the future has a long and frankly pretty bizarre history. So let's dive in. This quote from the prophet Isaiah way back around 700 BC just nails it. For most of human history, being able to predict the future wasn't just a neat party trick. It was seen as proof of something divine. It was a power that literally made you godlike in the eyes of others. So, how did our ancestors actually try to do it? Well, their methods were inventive, to say the least. Let's take a quick trip back in time and see just how strange and wild these ancient forecasting techniques really were. As you can see, the methods were all over the map. You have Isaiah laying down his challenge. Then, just a century later in Babylon, you've got priests who are literally reading the future by looking at the liver of a sheep. I'm not kidding. Meanwhile, over in Greece, the famous Oracle of Delphi was making her predictions while basically getting high on ethylene vapors coming up from the earth. Spiritual, visceral, or intoxicated, it didn't matter how you got there, the goal was always the same: know what's coming next. But here's where it gets complicated. Society has always had this love-hate relationship with fortune tellers. Depending on where and when you lived, predicting the future could get you treated like a living god or punished as a dangerous criminal. And you can see the two extremes right here. On one side, you have these revered figures like priests and oracles, but on the other, you have actual laws making it a crime. In 357 AD, the Roman emperor made it illegal to even consult a soothsayer. And get this, as recently as 1824, England's Vagrancy Act called fortune tellers rogues and vagabonds, and you could be sentenced to hard labor for it. Okay, let's fast forward to the modern era. You'd think that now that we've left the sheep livers behind, our predictions would be a little more accurate, right? Well, it turns out modern experts can get it spectacularly wrong too, especially when it comes to technology. Just take a look at this gem from the chairman of IBM back in 1943. 5. Not 5 million, 5 computers for the entire world. I mean, it's hilarious to us now, but this came from the head of what would become an absolute tech giant. And the hits kept coming. A few years later, in 1949, Popular Mechanics bravely predicted that computers of the future might weigh as little as 1.5 tons. Just think about that for a second while you're holding your smartphone. The gap between what they thought was possible and our reality today is just massive. And this might be the most famous of them all. In 1977, the president of a huge computer company called DEC said out loud that there was no reason for anyone to have a computer in their home. This was just 3 years before the first IBM PC launched and changed everything. The punchline? DEC isn't around anymore. And that's really the key takeaway here. These bad forecasts aren't just funny stories we tell. For businesses, getting the future wrong is surprisingly easy to do, and the cost can be absolutely catastrophic. It can literally put you out of business. So if expert intuition and gut feelings are so unreliable, what's the alternative? There has to be a better way, right? Well, there is. We had to move from the chaos of just guessing to the rigor of a modern scientific approach. And that solution is statistical forecasting. Instead of relying on one person's gut feeling, this approach uses data, actual hard data, and mathematical methods to see what's most likely to happen next. It takes the guesswork out of the equation. Now, this approach is so powerful because it's built on 3 principles our ancestors never had. First, the methods are replicatable. That just means anyone can follow the same steps and get the same result. There's no secret magic involved. Second, they're testable. You can actually measure how accurate the forecasts are instead of just having to take someone's word for it. And most important of all, they're proven to work. They have a verifiable track record of success. This is what separates science from guesswork, and it's a huge leap in our quest to see what's ahead. So what a journey, right? From staring at sheep livers to staring at spreadsheets, our basic human quest to know what tomorrow holds really hasn't changed at all. Thankfully, our tools definitely have. And all of this leaves us with one final, fascinating question. Thinking about how spectacularly wrong the experts of the past were, what widely held prediction that we all hear today is going to look just as ridiculous in the future? What is our modern-day version of a world market for 5 computers?